So this week in the gym, we're doing something that you call structured dicking around. Is that correct?
Yes,
Tell our lovely listeners why it is we are doing that.
because I've been training for 17 years, and when you've been training for that long, you find there are times when you absolutely loathe going to the gym, and you'd rather be doing literally anything else. You're so incredibly bored of it, tired, everything feels like a slog. Even like warm-up sets and exercises you don't otherwise enjoy. It's just the joy is gone from training. And this isn't actually a bad thing because once you're past that initial summoning the motivation phase, once discipline's kicked in and stuff, this only happens because you've trained for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very careful not to confuse it because people are very new to training. We're talking less than a year, less than 18 months. And they tell me they feel like this, but that's seldom the kind of mental problem that I'm talking about. This is more of a discipline issue and a motivation issue, not a burned out on training mental problem issue. Does that make sense,
hmm
Jess?
It does. So, yeah, I think it would be helpful to set the scene. How long have you been training now?
I just told you 17 years as of this recording. Yeah, 2009.
hmm
Uh, Technically August of 2009, although I did buy an Argos weight set
hmm
in probably, I think it was December 2000. Yeah, it was December
Right.
2008. Yeah, December 2008. And I wrote a workout plan of a training session every day for the month of January in my calendar for my
hmm
2009 calendar, and I think I lasted about six days. Uh, and then that never happened again. And maybe I trained a little bit. My girlfriend at the time, her dad was big into bodybuilding and stuff. He wasn't a bodybuilder or anything. He was just big into bodybuilding. Like he had Arnold's Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding that we've got. He
hmm
actually had it on their coffee table in their front room, and he had a
Yeah.
gym in his garage. He had like a bit of pipe up in the scaffolding so that you could do chin-ups off it, and he had like a squat rack and stuff. And I trained a little bit with him, but I wouldn't say that really counted as proper training. I was
hmm
maybe going like twice a week. I do remember, however, after my first chest workout with him, I remember walking through Woolworths in Fareham,
What?
just like feeling like I had this big old fuck off chest, and I was wearing like a t-shirt, and I felt like on cloud nine. Like I trained chest once, Jess, and I thought I was all jacked because I trained chest once. So there was that, and there was also my first workout that he put me through. That the I think it was about 2 days before I was doing all the rehearsals and performing Mozart's Requiem as part of the college choir. That everyone who did music at college, to get the free music lessons, you had to be part of the choir. From music A level, it was
Right.
compulsory as well. And obviously that was a lot of standing up and sitting down on a hard wooden bench in a cold church.
After your
So
first ever proper leg
yeah, St
workout.
Agatha's Church in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
It's back in the Roman Catholic Church now. They bought it. It was an
Wow.
ordinariate mission. But anyway, that's digressing massively. It's a beautiful building. It's by a car park.
hmm
Literally next to a car park, like a big shopping centre. But yeah, it was a windy old freezing church, standing up and sitting down repeatedly for like 3 days
hmm
after my first time I ever trained legs. The first time I ever
Wow.
done a squat. It was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. But yeah. Anyway, that doesn't count. I don't actually count any of this as proper training. It was the August when he introduced me to Don Styler's gym, and I started going every Monday,
Mm.
Wednesday, Friday without fail, religiously following Don's basic schedule that he put me onto after he saw me just looking very confused and not really doing anything productive. It was him and a guy called Lee, who was an ex-Royal Marines commando, who put me onto proper training, the basic
Mhm.
schedule, and yeah, and that 2009 was 17 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 17. So come August, it's 17
Wow.
years. Yeah,
That's over half your life. Well, half your life now.
it is. Yeah,
Amazing.
it is, and that's week in, week out without fail. Plan rest weeks aside, I've not ever taken time off of training because I've not wanted to do it. It's only
hmm
ever been rest weeks, and even when I've been injured, like I've trained through that. Really dumb thing. Don't do that, but you know.
So explain then a bit more about the difference in the feeling from your novice gym goer who doesn't want to because explain
Hmm.
versus what the feeling that you had, which is why we're doing the structured dicking around.
I can't talk about this from personal experience because when I started training properly, I was because before times it was just not it wasn't part of my routine. It wasn't something I took particularly seriously. But when as soon as I started training properly, I very quickly had such powerful motivation born of fear and guilt and a burning desire to regain human form because I was a fat, disgusting mess.
Mm.
So I never had the kind of early motivation issues with training. I remember actually I've been training a full year without a single rest week. So from August to August of 2010, I remember I'd gone up to see my university halls, and um, I remember being stood at the bus stop at the top of Blackberry Hill, furiously googling on my phone at like 1 megabit a second as it was back then,
Yeah.
on the mobile
Mm.
internet, like googling when can I take a rest week? Is it okay to take a week off the gym? Will I lose all my gains if I take a week off the gym? And I remember finding an article on bodybuilding.com actually. It was really good, that put my mind at rest. And basically, it was like you need to take a rest week every 8 to 12 weeks of training, pretty generally. And
You'd
I
done 52.
I'd done 52 at that point.
Yeah.
I was feeling really crispy, and I love training. I still wanted to go, but I was just like, I need to take a rest because like my body's like messed up, and what's going on here, and I need a bit of time off here. But I feel really guilty. I'm going to lose all my gains. So I wasn't like burned out on training. Like I physically had to take that week off, so I did, and then obviously I went straight back to training again. And I didn't take weeks off every 8 to 12 weeks when I was at university, or not really until my late 20s actually. I wasn't even doing it when we were together, first got together, when I was what, 26, 27.
Mm.
I was still, I could go 16, 18 weeks without a rest week.
Mm.
But that 8 to 12 weeks now, certainly as I've got to my late 20s into my 30s, it's become very regimented. So anyway, you asked me about the difference in the feelings. So obviously, I don't know what it's like to not have a motivation, but certainly in clients that I've worked with and listening to people talking about training, reading people talking about training on Reddit and forums
Mm.
and things, um, people they get tired and stuff, but they've not been at it for very long. They either need a rest week because they've not been taking a rest week in the manner I
Mm.
just described, or their training is inconvenient to them and they just want an out, so they just kind of rationalize that as, oh, I'm bored of this, and
Yeah.
and they don't have a big enough toolbox to vary their training sufficiently. You see this a lot in guys, generally men, because it's generally men who do it, who go on like Starting Strength, which is an amazing program by the way, and Strongless 5x5, also an amazing program. But they slavishly adhere to that and they don't know how to vary it or what to switch into,
Mm.
and then they just get really bored of it. And then you see them; they don't make any progress because they're just kind of like plugging away week in week out because it's what the internet told them to do.
Mm.
And then they don't really know what they're doing, and they go, oh, I hate training. I need to just I don't know what I need to do, but yeah, so it's that issue.
Yeah.
No, the crushing boredom and fatigue is something very different.
I guess it's kind of like once you've been in a job for a long time and it becomes mundane, but that mundanity becomes psychologically draining. And having some variety, a new project or a
Yeah,
new role or whatever, just kind of
yeah.
reinvigorates that desire. It's something you know you've got to do, and you're going to keep doing it.
And don't get me wrong, there's nothing to stop switching programs when you get stale. Like I do this with clients all the time.
Mm.
As soon as sort of staleness starts staleness is, you're bored of it. You're not really making much progress. It's all a bit, what you need to do is you don't, what you don't need is structured dicking around. What you need is a new program. So you need to
Hmm.
like take stock of where you are. Okay, what do I want to pursue next? So I've
Yeah.
had a guy, I've just been running him on GPP stuff for a little while. He started to get a bit stale of it, which is fine. He's built a cracking foundation of general physical preparedness
Mm.
and competence and kind of basic strength. And now we're just kind of transitioning him from that into a barbell based strength training program
Mm.
that's different. And obviously, he's going to be doing a little bit less cardio, a bit more stuff in the weight room. That's what you should do. What he absolutely should not do, someone of his level of experience, is structured dicking around.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the um, foundation of strength and technical competence to actually do things like today, I've just done Zercher squats,
Yeah.
and to do kind of stuff that's a bit out there and a bit random. I was doing push press on push press and single arm barbell deadlifts on Monday.
Yeah.
You need to novices can attempt these things, but they don't have the strength to actually provide a training stimulus, and they don't have the technical competence to really do the lift safely, and they end up hurting themselves.
Mm.
Or you also need to have a lot of knowledge and experience in crafting training programs, because even though it looks like what I'm doing is just whatever the hell I want to do, if you actually look over the course of a week, you will notice that all of the 6 primary movement patterns that I bang on about all the time are going to be present and correct. There's going
Mm.
to be 2 reps of pulling to every rep of pushing.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things are in balance with one another. And you without, as I say, without the knowledge and without a really big training toolbox, you're gonna pack your workouts with junk work. What I see happening when not people with less experience do this is they just like dick around on machines and do
Mm.
lots of really weird dumbbell movements or really obscure kettlebell movements and all this other stuff they're not really ready for. And it's all a bit of a mess. It's inefficient. It's ineffective. They end up frustrated. The programs themselves are wildly imbalanced. Most people have a pressing bias, and without the structure of a rigid routine that's been created by someone who actually knows what they're talking about, that pressing bias really comes to the fore. So we end up smashed up shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
legs don't get trained really, squatting, deadlifting, all of that kind of stops.
Yeah.
It's just you end up, best case scenario, achieving absolutely nothing,
Mm.
and worst case scenario is getting hurt and losing all the progress that you have made up until the point you got stale and pissed off of training.
And would I be right in thinking that this is not so much a last resort, but I know that in the last couple of months you've changed programs, you've taken a rest week, and you've come back from your rest week thinking, still feeling a little bit stale and crispy. So having tried the other things.
It's not so much a last resort, and I think what's gone on with me specifically since January, should we say?
Mm.
It's probably January time, wasn't it?
Tell me what you're
It
thinking, I'll tell you if
well,
you're
we did
right.
we did a big chunk of GPP, lots of
Yeah.
bodyweight work, lots of barbell complexes, all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah.
And then from that, we moved into breathing squats,
Yeah.
which is probably the toughest training a natural trainee can actually handle.
Mm.
That is probably, and now that you've done it, you agree with that.
Oh yeah.
The workouts are really short, 25 to 30 minutes, inclusive warm up and cool down. I was actually extending my cool down with like loads of mobility work
Yeah, I
because
remember.
while you were doing something else,
Yeah.
but because just to fill the time,
Mm.
and um, it's one of the toughest programs an actual can do. So obviously, I was intending to do it for 16 weeks, so 2 8-week cycles. I managed to do it for 8 and 4,
Yeah.
and
I
then
was going to say
and that wasn't a staleness motivation issue, because that had set in a while ago. This
mm,
was just a breathing squats. I at
it's done
30,
now.
at
Yeah.
35 years old with 3 kids and a business and all that training under my belt and naturally declining testosterone levels, I just fucking had enough of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, no, I knew there was a problem when, even with the lighter training that I was doing, with in the 4 weeks after we canned the breathing squats,
Hmm.
um, I was I was just done with it all. And it was the runs as well that did it for me. I hate running at the best of times, but I was only doing like 5Ks, and not even 5Ks, like just shy of 5Ks. And I just hated every second of it. I was out on my runs, and as soon as I got out there, I get to the corner of our road, and I'd just be not even the corner of our road, because I go through the little cut through. I don't go
Yeah.
all the way to the end of the road.
Yeah.
So I get around the corner, and I just be, oh, I'm done now.
Mm.
And that, to me, was a sign that I needed a lot less rigidity and structure in what I was doing. So
Yeah. And this is a remedy for a psychological issue,
yeah,
much
not a
less than a
yeah.
physical one.
There will be physical gains that are going to come from this. Like, I'm really looking forward to um, the um, the kind of strength that I'm going to build. There's the very specific strength I'm going to build through doing things like one arm deadlifts and circle squats that I mentioned.
Mm.
That's unilateral training is something that I've never really done as much of as I should, because I've
Mm.
got the athletic capabilities of a slug. So, there was, believe it or not, when I was doing my personal training course, this is 2015, I still couldn't do walking lunges without falling over.
Mm.
That's how bad my GPP was, and how unathletic I am. I can do it now,
Yeah, I was going
obviously,
to say, and you've done a lot of GPP work, so I
to
think,
build it up.
yeah.
But the unilateral stuff like walking lunges, single leg squats, and stuff like I just didn't have it.
Mm,
And then obviously I've never really trained it, and I've never really had to train it either because I'm not pursuing elite strength. I haven't been interested in pursuing elite strength.
mm,
Like I've squatted over 500 pounds without ever really doing single leg squats or the stuff that people say that you need to do that
yeah,
while doing back squats with like just over their body weight. Details, but it'll be interesting to build that strength up
yeah.
and experiment with some new stuff. But I'm not doing this. I'm not expecting miracles, or I'm not really expecting much progress. Just very specific progress in some kind of small areas, and I don't know how long we'll do it for. I suspect it'll probably be till the end of the summer at the earliest. I'm not planning on bringing anything stricter in. Also, because of the 3 days a week of lifting, like something I generally recommend with structured sticking around for people who are actually qualified to do it is to slightly increase the lifting frequency to a minimum of kind of 3 days. But four is probably better if you've got the time for it because it generally works well with the shorter workouts because you can't underestimate how draining unfamiliar exercises are,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're not doing them heavy. Um,
Yeah, it took you a while yesterday, didn't it, to get to grips with the balance of the one-armed
yeah. So
deadlift.
and you need the time to play with so that you don't, because I'm not going to like push training density with that because I'll just end up hurting myself.
Mm.
So
But you need to do enough to get the proper training stimulus.
yeah, I
So,
had a point to make then. I've just forgotten it, but yeah, no, that's something with strength sticking around is the slightly higher, the shorter workouts are nicer, kind of shorter to roughly like I say shorter, but they're not really like the difference is kind of like we're kind of 55 minutes down to like 45 minutes. It's fewer exercises. There's less volume there,
hmm.
and that's kind of nice. And we'll do that through to the end of summer probably.
Ace.
Anything else?
No, I think that just about covers it. We'll have to revisit this at the end of the summer to
Yeah,
see what gains we've got, how we found it.
yeah. Well, if you made it through to the end of that word vomit, then you'll probably like more of my word vomit, which is actually more structured, which is very not in keeping with what we've just been talking about. That in the structured way I talk in my daily emails. The link for that is on the screen, and there's a free book in it for you. So yeah, if you made it through to this point, then you should probably go and subscribe. And on that note, next time.